People have somehow developed an extraordinary ability to demand reimbursement, special treatment, and fundamental reality rewrites for situations they deliberately created. What follows is a collection of complaints so divorced from basic cause and effect that you'll start to wonder if common sense ever actually existed, or if we're all just collectively pretending it did. Prepare to watch confident, articulate adults treat the laws of physics, economics, and human decency like optional suggestions, and then get genuinely upset when the universe declines to cooperate. 1. A customer walked into a pizza restaurant, ordered a large pepperoni pizza, ate almost the entire thing, and then demanded a full refund because they didn't expect it to be so heavy. The pizza was somehow simultaneously perfect enough to consume, but too substantial to accept responsibility for. 2. Someone returned a pair of wireless earbuds to a retailer because they weren't wireless enough. They could not articulate what wireless enough would look like, and seemed genuinely surprised that removing a cable still required an internet connection to exist first. 3. A woman called a grocery store's customer service line because the bananas she purchased ripened at a normal rate. She believed the store had sold her intentionally unripe fruit and demanded compensation for her own produce management failures. Apparently, biology required her written consent. 4. A gym member complained that their trainer was too good and made them feel bad about their progress. They wanted to be trained hard, but also comforted constantly and never challenged. The trainer quit after realizing that person wanted emotional support, not fitness results. 5. A hotel guest left a one-star review because the room had a window that faced other buildings instead of a view of the ocean, despite booking an interior room listed explicitly as such. They somehow expected geography to reorganize itself between reservation and arrival. 6. Someone complained to their phone company because their unlimited data plan was slowing down after they used 1.2 terabytes in a month. They seemed to believe the word unlimited was purely decorative and that physics had been abolished. 7. A parent demanded that a children's theme park refund their admission fee because their kid was too short to ride the rides. The height restrictions existed for physical safety. Their complaint suggested they wanted the park to violate those safety standards on demand. 8. A customer ordered a shirt online in a size large, received a large, and then complained that it fit like a large. They returned it claiming that large sizes were a conspiracy to make them look small. 9. A dinner guest showed up to a dinner party without bringing anything, then complained that the meal wasn't to their taste and demanded the host cook something else. They were, and I cannot stress this enough, a guest in someone's home. 10. Someone filed a complaint with an airline because their flight was delayed by weather. They demanded compensation for the tornado that had blocked the runway, as if the airline had scheduled it personally. 11. A man bought a left-handed scissors, but right-handed scissors had already been invented. He complained that he was being discriminated against because society had apparently missed the memo that he should get brand new utensils manufactured according to his preferences at retail price. 12. A tenant called a landlord because the sun was coming through their window too early in the morning and asked if the landlord could fix the sun schedule. They were serious. They were also somehow not alone in this belief. 13. A customer complained to a coffee shop that their iced coffee was cold. They seemed genuinely shocked that a beverage specifically named for its temperature profile would have achieved said temperature. The barista showed remarkable restraint. 14. Someone returned a book because the ending was sad. Not because the book was damaged, not because they were misled about genre. The emotional experience they personally chose to engage with didn't match the emotions they wanted to feel, and this was obviously the book's fault. 15. A person complained on social media that their free software trial expired after the trial period ended. They expected the company to subsidize their indefinite use out of charity and seemed offended that capitalism had continued despite their objections. 16. A student demanded an extension on an assignment because they forgot to do it and then forgot about the extension. They expected their time management failures to trigger automatic academic mercy. 17. A restaurant customer complained that a steak was too meaty. The steak, being made entirely of meat, seemed to have failed some imaginary standard of what a steak should contain. 18. Someone called a weather service because the forecast was wrong and demanded a refund for the inaccurate prediction. They believed meteorology was a service agreement rather than an educated guess, and felt personally betrayed by atmospheric uncertainty. 19. A person complained that a mirror made them look worse than normal and demanded a replacement mirror. Apparently, different mirrors had different honesty levels, and this one was being cruel. 20. A customer complained that a restaurant didn't have their nut allergy listed in the menu description of a salad. The restaurant had a full allergy menu, separate ingredient listings, and staff trained to ask. But the person had never mentioned their allergy and expected the restaurant to read their mind. 21. Someone complained that their gym membership was too expensive, but still expected to use the facility. When asked to stop using it if they didn't want to pay, they complained that the gym was being unreasonable. The math part was apparently optional. 22. A person returned a winter coat because it was too warm in their house. They seemed to believe that a winter coat should automatically adjust its insulation based on indoor temperature, or perhaps that indoor heating was a betrayal of the coat's purpose. 23. A parent called a children's hospital, demanding that they be allowed to opt out of basic safety protocols because the rules made her uncomfortable. She wanted her child treated by medical professionals while simultaneously preventing those professionals from exercising their medical judgment. 24. A customer complained that a bakery was out of their favorite bread by 6 p.m., despite the bakery opening at 6 a.m. They had not gone to the bakery during operating hours and felt that inventory should exist solely for their convenience. 25. Someone complained to their internet provider that their speed was slower at night than during the day. This was explained to them multiple times. The point never landed. They insisted that physics didn't apply after 7 p.m. 26. A person wrote to a magazine complaining that the articles weren't about topics they personally cared about, despite having no subscription and never having purchased the magazine. They felt entitled to editorial input based on pure entitlement. 27. A customer complained that a self-checkout machine wouldn't let them complete a transaction without paying. They argued that the machine was rude and assumed they were a criminal, when in reality it was simply enforcing basic retail accounting. 28. A dog owner complained to a veterinarian that their dog had gotten fat from just eating normal amounts of food, and demanded the vet explain why their dog wasn't naturally thin. The vet suggested exercise. The person demanded a refund for that unhelpful advice. 29. A person complained to a bank that their overdraft fee was unfair after they spent more money than existed in their account. They seemed to believe that banks were morally required to subsidize their math failures. This one somehow gets worse. 30. That same person then demanded the overdraft fee be waived, and followed up by complaining that the bank's system was designed to trap people by preventing them from spending money they didn't have. The concept that accounts should have limits was apparently oppressive. 31. A passenger complained to an airline that they didn't realize they had to pay for carry-on luggage, despite it being listed in bold on the booking confirmation, the email receipt, and the check-in screen they clicked through. They wanted the airline to absorb the cost of their selective reading. 32. Someone called a pizza place complaining that their pizza was too pizza-flavored. They couldn't identify what taste they wanted instead, but they knew it wasn't pizza, and they wanted a refund for receiving pizza from a pizza restaurant. 33. A tenant demanded that their landlord install a swimming pool because other apartments probably have one. The landlord provided a rental unit, not a resort experience. This distinction was lost on them. 34. A customer complained to a bookstore that a book was too long. Not that the content was slow or the writing was dense, the physical page count was deemed excessive by someone who had chosen to purchase it. 35. A person complained to their employer that they had to work during business hours while the business was in business. They believed that employment should occur on a schedule determined entirely by them, and that the company's operational needs were a personal attack. 36. Someone complained to a movie theater that the film was sad, despite it being rated as a drama about loss, with an entire plot description that clearly indicated sadness would occur. They wanted the theater to have edited the movie specifically before showing it. 37. A parent called a school because their child had received a B on a test despite not studying. They believed the grade was evidence of teacher negligence, not academic reality. 38. A person complained that a clothing brand's sizes were inconsistent, then refused to try things on or use the provided size guide. They expected the entire fashion industry to reorganize around their refusal to engage with basic problem solving. 39. A customer complained to a bakery that the croissants weren't croissant-shaped enough. They wanted them to be, and I'm not making this up, more S-shaped. The bakery made traditional French croissants. Tradition was considered a personal insult. 40. A person complained to their internet provider that their Wi-Fi didn't work in their backyard when it rained. They seemed to believe that wireless signals were immune to water and weather. When informed that radio waves struggled in those conditions, they demanded a refund anyway. 41. A restaurant customer complained that they had to wait for a table during a rush and demanded a refund for having to be patient while the restaurant served other people. The concept that restaurants had limited seating appeared genuinely surprising. 42. Someone complained to a pharmacy that they had to pay for medication because their insurance didn't cover it. They believed the pharmacy was personally responsible for their insurance company's coverage decisions and should absorb the cost. 43. A person complained that a furniture store wouldn't assemble their purchase for free because they had purchased it during a sale. They felt that discounts somehow obligated the store to provide free labor, and that those things were connected. 44. A customer complained to a grocery store that produced goes bad too fast and demanded the store restock their items daily. They lived alone and seemed to believe that spoilage was a retail problem rather than a biology problem. 45. A person complained to their electric company about their bill being high in summer, despite running their air conditioner constantly. They expected electricity to be cheaper when they used more of it, or possibly free. The complaint wasn't entirely clear. 46. A student demanded that a professor give them a better grade on an assignment because they had tried really hard but turned in incomplete work. Effort was being treated as a substitute for completion. 47. A person complained to a taxi service that the driver didn't know a shortcut that didn't exist. When informed that the route the driver took was standard, they demanded a discount for the driver being unaware of fictional roads. 48. A customer complained that a fast food restaurant took too long to serve them during their lunch rush visit, along with 100 other people. They seemed to believe fast food meant fast service regardless of basic math. 49. A person complained to their landlord that the heating bill was expensive during winter and demanded the landlord pay it. They rented the unit, they used the heat. They believed someone else should subsidize that choice. 50. A guest complained at a hotel that there were too many other guests and demanded a refund because the hotel was overcrowded. The hotel had sold every room on purpose because that's how hotels operate. Peace and quiet apparently cost less than acknowledging that public spaces have public people. 51. A person complained that a concert was too loud and demanded a refund from a rock band. They had purchased tickets to a concert. The concert contained music. The music contained volume. This was somehow unexpected. 52. A customer complained to a gym that the machines were too hard to use without ever asking for instructions. They wanted the equipment to be simpler or wanted a refund, which was a creative solution to not reading the manual. 53. A person complained to a clothing retailer that their jeans shrank after washing them, then admitted they had washed them on hot. When asked why they used hot water for denim, they demanded the jeans be heat-resistant. Free of charge. 54. A parent complained to a school that their child was bored and demanded the teacher make class more entertaining. They had no suggestions, refused to engage with the teacher's request for feedback, and expected entertainment to happen through pure will. 55. A person complained to a restaurant that their salad didn't have enough dressing and demanded they remake it. They had watched the chef make it. The salad had dressing. They wanted more dressing on someone else's dime. 56. A customer complained that a store's parking lot didn't have a spot close enough to the entrance for them. Not that there were no spots. There were spots, just not within 20 feet of the door. They demanded the store reorganize parking around their convenience. 57. A person complained to their cable company that they had a bad signal during a thunderstorm and demanded a month of free service. Lightning had apparently violated their service agreement, and the company was expected to reimburse them for weather. 58. A guest at an all-inclusive resort complained that they couldn't get more food than what was being served and demanded additional meals be prepared beyond the stated inclusion. All-inclusive apparently meant all that fits in my stomach, not all meals are provided. 59. A person complained to a hotel that their room faced the street and complained about street noise. They had booked a room on a street. The street had experienced normal street conditions. This felt like betrayal. 60. A customer complained that a book had a sad ending and demanded an alternate ending be shipped to them for free. They didn't want to return the book. They wanted multiple endings. The publisher was expected to print custom versions for emotional comfort. 61. A person complained to an airport that their flight was scheduled too early in the morning and demanded the airline reschedule it for afternoon. Not just their seat, the entire flight, for everyone, so that this person could sleep later. 62. A guest complained to an Airbnb host that the apartment was too apartment-like and demanded a refund because it didn't feel like a 5-star hotel despite being listed as an apartment. The expectation that reality should reformate itself to match misaligned expectations had somehow survived contact with reality. 63. And finally, a person complained to the government that they had to pay taxes and demanded a full refund of everything they'd paid, ever, because the government wasn't giving them good value for money. They used roads, called police, benefited from fire departments, and expected all of it to be a charity. When informed they could always move, they complained that other countries were too foreign. What we're witnessing across all 63 of these moments is not stupidity exactly. It's a special kind of entitlement that emerges when someone reaches adulthood, believing that the world's fundamental rules don't apply to them, that emotions override logistics, and that expressing frustration at reality is somehow a legitimate business complaint. These people didn't commit crimes or hurt anyone directly. They simply discovered that confident wrongness is a surprisingly viable way to move through the world because most people would rather validate someone's feelings than explain cause and effect again. Here's the real question. Which one did you recognize someone doing in your own life? If you made it all the way through this descent into humanity's creative relationship with reality, hit that like button and subscribe for more explorations of why people are the way they are. Thanks for watching.